This is called First Time Mistress, and it takes place in January of this year. You'll find out where it takes place in the story. Please hurt me, Mistress Rachel, he pleaded, as I straddled him in the midst of what up until that point had been a rather innocent back rub. Nick was 21 years my senior, a distinguished, stylish, almost gentle older man I'd met while he was visiting New York. I'd gone to visit him in London, with both of us fantasizing about him tying me to a St. Andrew's cross and lashing me with a flogger, turning my skin red and purple, making me moan as he marked me. As it turned out, he was the one doing most of the moaning. Sprawled across his bed, I'd been digging my fingers, knuckles, palms, and elbows into his back while he murmured appreciatively. I'd alternate pummeling his skin with licks of my tongue across the back of his neck, but soon my hands had wandered lower, and when they approached his ass, that's when he succumbed to my power. He seemed to sink into a trance, and we were no longer equals. I'd topped people before, but no one had ever called me mistress, and the word made me want to do it justice. Plus, the sight of his upturned ass beckoned to me. I hadn't had a chance to truly ogle it before, and it was so round, so perfect, I couldn't help but grab handfuls of it. Oh yes, Mistress Rachel, I like that. I let loose with one sound slap against his right cheek, then his left, my hand stinging in response. He whimpered and I kept going, while my other hand lingered near the back of his neck, holding him in place. Not that he had any plans to escape. Very quickly, I found that I loved being in charge, especially since he'd been the one calling the shots previously. I knew if he wanted to, he had the strength to flip things around, to turn over and hold me down, but his surrender was completely voluntary. I wasn't truly making him do anything. This was his choice, and feeling him react so strongly had me wet as could be. I climbed atop him, riding him like a horse, rubbing my slippery pussy against his lower back and along his ass, making him feel just how turned on I was. You want me to fuck you, don't you, Nick? I asked, as I raked my newly manicured yet still sharp, hot pink nails along his back, watching thin red lines form as I felt his hips buck beneath mine. Yes, I'm your whore. You can use me any way you like. Please, he said, shuddering as I kept finding new uses for my nails, grateful I hadn't bitten them to the quick as I admired the artwork I was creating on his back. There was so much gorgeous flesh before me, I wasn't quite sure where to start. I wanted to slap him, spank him, cuff him, smother him, and fuck him all at once. By calling me Mistress Rachel, he had turned me into her. I felt taller, stronger, more powerful, like a conquering queen surveying her new domain. I reached down and ran my fingers along my wetness, then shoved my fingers inside, coating them with my juices before bringing them to his lips. He eagerly gobbled them while I tugged on his short, salt and pepper hair. I slid my fingers in and out of his mouth. Just as he was getting into me fucking his mouth, expecting my fingers' assault, I pulled them out and moved away from him. Put your hands on your ass and hold it open for me. Immediately, his big manly hands cupped his buttocks and held them open. It was the ultimate submissive posture, him waiting, not knowing if I would grant his wish, his head down, his entire body, his entire being focused on his asshole. I longed for a harness and a huge dildo to drill him with, but since I didn't have that, I used the next best thing. Stay right there for me. Don't move an inch. I'll be right back. I scampered off the bed and headed downstairs for some lube. Even if I'd had it with me upstairs, I'd have made an excuse to leave, to test his obedience, to see how badly he needed to be fucked. Even though I was in his home, it suddenly felt like he was in mine, like he was mine, in fact. I found the lube and carried it back upstairs, finding him in the exact same spot. Good boy, I said, glad that he'd stayed in position, even though punishing him would have been fun as well. Thank you, mistress, he said, keeping his hands in place. Though I knew I could have had him roll over onto his back and climb atop his pretty mouth, riding myself to a glorious climax, I was more eager to fuck him instead. I was so wet my juices were dripping down my thighs, and I wanted to reward him. I liked being mean, but also wanted to be the kind of mistress who can praise good behavior. I sat between his legs, ordering him to push them as far apart as he could, then poured some lube directly onto his hole. I used more than I needed, watching it drip onto the bed, then coated my fingers as well. "Do you want me to fuck your ass, Nick?" I asked again, even though both of us knew the answer. He moaned and said, "Yes, mistress, please use me." I proceeded to slide my forefinger and middle finger inside, both of them disappearing easily. He sucked me in tightly, and soon I was fucking him much the way I'd fucked his mouth earlier. I raked my nails down his back as I tried to get deeper and deeper into him, exploring this new territory. I was breathing hard, caught up in the moment as he arched upward to meet my thrusts. It was clear that he could take more, much more. "I had no idea how badly you needed to be fucked, Nick. And I really like fucking you," I observed, as I added a third finger. "Yes, mistress, you can do whatever you want to me. I'm here to serve you." I curled my fingers slightly upward while he jerked up and down, humping the bed as he reveled in the force of my fingers. His back was a mosaic of redness. I could hardly believe this was the same suave man who'd picked me up, the charming, distinguished gentleman who ran his own business and had previously given me one of the harshest spankings of my life. He was clearly so at home with his face scrunched up, sinking into the depths of his bed, allowing me to dominate him. His ass was greedy too. I could tell there was room to fill him with something longer and wider. "Good answer, because you are going to serve me for the rest of my time here." I fucked him for a few more minutes until his squeals became uncontrollable, his anus tight around me. Then I pulled out before pressing my knee into the dip of his lower back, keeping him locked in place as I spanked him over and over, the sound and sight and feel of my power lighting up my clit. "You've been such a good boy today, and that's only the beginning, isn't it?" I demanded, as I tugged on the scruff of his neck, hitting him as hard as I could where his upper thigh met his cheek. "Yes, Mistress Rachel." I had never heard sweeter words, ones that unlock the potential for sadism inside me. That was just the start of a blossoming relationship that is still growing as we explore just how far into our new kinky roles each of us can go.